al-Fayda Said al-Dawla was the third Hamdanid ruler of the Emirate of Aleppo. He succeeded his father Said al-Dawla in 991, but throughout his reign real power rested in the hands of Said al-Dawla's former chamberlain al-Dawla, to whose daughter Said was wed. His reign was dominated by the Fatimid Caliphate's repeated attempts to conquer Aleppo, which was prevented only by the intervention of the Byzantine Empire. Warfare lasted until 1000, when a peace treaty was concluded guaranteeing Aleppo's continued existence as a buffer state between the two powers. Finally, in January 1002, Said al-Dawla died, possibly poisoned by al-Dawla, and al-Dawla assumed control of Aleppo in his own name. Life and reign. Said al-Dawla's father, Said al-Dawla, had only with difficulty managed to first secure a measure of control over his domains, and then to maintain a precarious autonomy by maneuvering between the Byzantine Empire, the Fatimids of Egypt, and Abids in Iraq, alternating between warfare and recognizing the suzerainty of each power in turn. The once proud Emirates, which under Said al-Dawla's grandfather Saif al-Dawla included all of northern Syria and much of the Jazira, had now shrunk to the region around Aleppo. Said al-Dawla's domestic position was precarious, and his state was impoverished and militarily impotent. After the Byzantine Fatimid peace of 987, he came to depend once more on the Byzantines, and it was Byzantine troops that helped him defeat a Fatimid-sponsored attempt to seize Aleppo by the former Hamdanid governor Bakhtiyar in April 991. Following Said al-Dawla's death in December 991, his young son al-Fayda, known by the laqab of Said al-Dawla, succeeded him as emir. Said al-Dawla was under the influence of his chief minister and later father-in-law al-Dawla, who continued to support the alliance with the Byzantines. Many of his rivals, resenting his power, defected upon Said al-Dawla's death to the Fatimids, who now resumed their attacks on Aleppo. As Hamdanid writes, the history of reign is almost exclusively that of the attempts of Fatimid Egypt to gain the Emirate of Aleppo, which were opposed by the Byzantine emperor. Encouraged by the Hamdanid defectors, the Fatimid Caliph al-Aziz launched a first attack in 992, under the governor of Damascus, the Turkish general Manjutakin. The Fatimid general invaded the emirate, defeated a Byzantine force under the Duke of Antioch, Michael Byrtzes, in June 992, and laid siege to Aleppo. He failed to pursue the siege with vigor, however, and the city was easily able to resist until, in the spring of 993, after 13 months of campaigning, Manjutakin was forced to return to Damascus due to lack of supplies. In spring 994, Manjutakin launched another invasion, again defeated Byrtzes at the Battle of the Ourens, took Homs, Apamea and Shazar and besieged Aleppo for 11 months. The blockade was far more effective this time and soon caused a severe lack of food. Said al-Dawla suggested surrendering to Manjutakin, but the determined stance of Lula allowed the city's defenders to hold out until the sudden arrival of the Byzantine Emperor Basil II in Syria in April 995. Basil, who had been campaigning in Bulgaria, had responded to the Hamdanids' plea for aid, and crossed Asia Minor in only 16 days at the head of an army 13,000 strong. His sudden arrival caused panic in the Fatimid army. Manjutakin burned his camp and retreated to Damascus without battle. Said al-Dawla and al-Dawla prostrated themselves before the emperor in person as a sign of gratitude and submission, and he in turn released the emirate from its obligation to pay an annual tribute. tribute. Basil's interest in Syria was limited, however, and after a brief campaign that saw an unsuccessful attack on Tripoli, returned to Constantinople. Al-Aziz, on the other hand, now prepared for all-out war with the Byzantines, but his preparations were cut short by his death in October 996. The Byzantine Fatimid contest over Syria continued, however, with alternating success. In 995, Eliu made terms with al-Aziz and acknowledged him as caliph, and for a few years Fatimid influence over Aleppo grew. In 998, Eliu and Said al-Dawla tried to seize the fortress of Apamea, but were thwarted by the new Byzantine Damian de Larceno's defeat and death in a battle with the Fatimids shortly after caused another intervention by Basil in the next year, which stabilized the situation and strengthened Aleppo's security from Fatimid attack by placing a Byzantine garrison at Shazar. The conflict ended with another treaty in 1001 and the conclusion of a 10-year truce. In January 1002, Said al-Dawla died, although according to a tradition recorded by Ibn al-Adam, he was poisoned by one of his concubines at the behest of Eliu. Along with his son Mansur, Eliu now assumed direct power. At first his ostensible guardians over Said al-Dawla's sons Abu al-Hasan Ali and Abu al-Mali Sharif, until, in 1003 he had them exiled to Egypt. At the same time, one of Said al-Dawla's brothers, Abu al-Hayya, fled, disguised as a woman, to the Byzantine court. Eliu was a capable ruler who maintained the balance between Byzantium and the Fatimids, but after his death in 1008, Aleppo gravitated increasingly towards the latter. A Hamdanid restoration attempt, led by Abu al-Hayya, failed, and in 1015 Mansur ibn Eliu was in turn deposed, ending the last vestiges of the Hamdanid rule in Aleppo.